Hello, dear YouTube viewers. I hope you're doing well. Okays, let's start our video. Nina Harper worked a night shift at a deteriorating public hospital nestled in one of the city's toughest neighborhoods. At 33, she was known for her quiet strength and relentless compassion, though few truly knew her story. Behind her calm demeanor lay the heart of a survivor, once a military combat medic who had witnessed and endured trauma during years of service overseas. After leaving the army, she chose a quieter life, though she never truly found peace. Living alone, Nina dedicated herself fully to caring for patients who often had nowhere else to go. Gang violence, poverty, and neglect were constant visitors at the hospital, but she handled it all with patience and grace. Late one rainy night, as the ER buzzed with chaos, Nina noticed two aggressive teenagers arguing in the hallway. As tension mounted, she stepped in with calm authority, trying to defuse the situation. Without warning, one of the boys shoved her. Her shoulder hit the wall. The other kicked the chair out from under her. She crashed to the floor, her breath knocked out in front of stunned staff and onlooking patients. No one moved. For a moment, the air stood still. Nina, bruised and breathless, looked up, not with fear, but with something far more dangerous: resolve. Nina's shift began like most others, exhausting and unpredictable. Despite the chaos of the overcrowded urban hospital, she moved with practiced efficiency, treating patients with warmth and precision. Her reputation among patients was near legendary. They trusted her. But within the hospital staff, not everyone offered her the same respect. A few younger nurses found her too quiet, too distant. Security guards often ignored her warnings, and the teens from the surrounding neighborhoods, many connected to local gangs, treated her like background noise. She didn't push back. She just worked. No one knew that Nina had served as a combat medic overseas, nor that she'd seen more blood, fear, and trauma than most could comprehend. Only the head doctor, Dr. Kaplan, had a glimpse of her past. She preferred it that way. Recently, a new security guard named Mason joined the night shift. He watched Nina work, how she calmed a screaming addict, how she stitched a wound while whispering encouragement. He admired her control, but sensed a wall behind her eyes, something buried. Meanwhile, Nina had taken a liking to Kayla, a shy teenage hospital volunteer with curious eyes and gentle hands. Kayla looked up to her, asking questions, helping fold linens, and shadowing Nina through long nights. Nina, though guarded, saw echoes of herself in the girl and began quietly mentoring her. Then the rumors started, murmurs that gang members were slipping drugs through the ER. Nina, while walking past a supply room, caught pieces of a hushed conversation between two teens with bandaged hands. It was enough to raise alarms in her mind. She said nothing for now. That night, a fight erupted outside the trauma ward. Nina intervened, as always, but this time, the teens didn't back down. One grabbed her shoulder. Another pushed her. A third kicked a metal chair from beneath her, and she hit the floor hard, gasping, humiliated. The hallway went still, everyone watching. No one moved. Nina lay motionless for a moment, the cold hospital floor hard against her cheek. The fluorescent lights above buzzed, and the echo of laughter and footsteps faded into a stunned silence. Staff, patients, even the security cameras seemed to pause. The teenage boy stood over her, one still smirking, but uncertain now. She felt the pain in her ribs, the sting in her elbow. But worse than that was the humiliation, the feeling of being small again, powerless. Then she moved. Slowly, calmly, Nina pushed herself up to her knees. Her hand reached for a broken wooden leg from the fallen chair. She stood, not to fight, but to face them. Her eyes were steady, fierce, unshaken. There was no yelling, no threats, just the kind of silence that makes people feel something primal. The boys froze. Whatever they thought she was, they now saw something else. Something trained. Something dangerous. Security stormed in seconds later, separating the teens and pulling them aside. But the energy didn't leave. The staff whispered. Nurses exchanged glances. Patients who had witnessed it replayed the moment on their phones. Some called her a legend. Others rolled their eyes. But no one ignored her now. Later, in the break room, Mason approached her. "You weren't scared," he said. Who are you? She tried to brush it off, but something in his tone made her pause. Sitting down across from him, she told him the truth. How she once dragged a wounded captain through a desert after a Taliban ambush. How she treated 6 bleeding soldiers with only gauze and instinct. It wasn't bravado. It was survival. Unbeknownst to her, Kayla had heard the whole story from the hallway. That night, the young girl approached Nina with wide eyes and said, "I want to be like you. Not just strong, but really strong." Nina smiled, small but genuine. "Then let's start." The hospital tried to pretend it never happened. The teens who had knocked Nina down were quietly suspended for disruptive behavior. But no police were called. No charges filed. Administration told Nina it was better not to escalate things, given the gang's reputation. Nina nodded, but she knew what that meant. They were scared. And that fear was keeping the hospital vulnerable. Soon after, she began noticing things she used to ignore. Patient records altered with different signatures, medication going missing, odd deliveries being signed for after hours. A young nurse took a cash envelope for supplies, but avoided eye contact. At first, Nina thought she was being paranoid. But Mason agreed something was off. Together, they started quietly gathering evidence. Patterns emerged. Certain staff members were connected to the suspended teens. Some wounds were self-inflicted. Some patients didn't seem sick at all. Then came the warning. Kayla came to Nina pale and shaking. A boy from the hallway, the one who'd kicked the chair, cornered her outside the supply closet. He told her to stop hanging around Nina unless she wanted something bad to happen. Kayla wanted to quit. "I'm not brave like you," she whispered. But Nina sat her down and told her about the time she was trapped in a collapsed building in Afghanistan with no light, no radio, and wounded soldiers counting on her. "I was terrified, but I learned something. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's walking through it anyway." Kayla nodded and stayed. In secret, Nina began training again with Mason in the dusty basement gym. She sparred, lifted, focused. Her strength returned, but this time, not just physical, emotional, strategic. She also kept a notebook, coded but clear, documenting everything. Shift patterns, camera dead zones, suspicious activity. Slowly, she was building a case. But outside the nurse's station, she noticed the same teens watching her again, eyes colder than before. Something was coming, and this time, she'd be ready. The night it all came to a head. The hospital was unusually chaotic. A young man, one of the suspended gang teens, suddenly collapsed near the ER entrance, clutching his chest and gasping for air. Code Blue was called. Nurses, orderlies, and even a doctor rushed to assist. It seemed real, urgent, but to Nina, something felt wrong. As the crowd swarmed around the emergency, she noticed a shadow slip through the back corridor, heading toward the restricted medical supply wing. Her instincts kicked in. She moved quickly and quietly, cutting through a maintenance stairwell and down the side hall. When she reached the storage room, she wasn't surprised to find the lock picked and the door ajar. Inside, 2 of the boys who'd assaulted her weeks ago were stuffing boxes of narcotics into backpacks. Worse, beside them stood Marla, a trusted night nurse Nina had once mentored. "Seriously, Harper?" one of the boys sneered. "Didn't you learn your lesson last time?" Nina didn't flinch. "I learned who the real cowards are." Marla rolled her eyes. "You're alone. Walk away. No one gets hurt." Nina took 1 step forward. "No, not this time." One of the boys lunged. Nina ducked fast, grabbed a metal stool, and swung. The seat cracked against the wall. A leg broke off in her hand. She backed toward the cabinet, raising the jagged chair leg like a weapon. Her voice low, controlled. "You think you've seen violence? I used to patch up dying men while gunfire rained outside. You think I'm scared of kids stealing pills?" The gang boys hesitated. There was something terrifying in her calm. Just then, Mason burst through the side door, taser drawn. Within seconds, the teens were disarmed. Marla tried to flee, but Nina tackled her at the exit. By the time hospital security and local police arrived, it was over. Not only were arrests made, but Nina's documentation helped authorities uncover a full narcotics smuggling network linked to the gang. This time, no one hushed it up. The reckoning had come, and Nina Harper had delivered it. Word of what happened in the hospital spread fast. By morning, local news channels were running headlines about the nurse with the chair leg, who stopped a robbery in progress. Social media buzzed with grainy footage from security cameras showing Nina standing tall, defiant, wooden leg in hand. Hospital administrators initially tried to spin the story, calling it a miscommunication and emphasizing the hospital's swift response. But that didn't sit well with the community. Patients, former staff, and neighborhood residents rallied in Nina's defense. They remembered her long nights, gentle care, and quiet strength. Letters poured in. Flowers arrived in baskets. Some came just to shake her hand. During a tense staff meeting called to address the incident, Kayla, normally shy and reserved, stood up to speak. Her voice trembled at first, but then grew strong. She didn't just stop them. She showed me what real courage looks like. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't brag. But she changed everything. I want to be like her. Silence filled the room. The administrators, facing mounting pressure and public scrutiny, fired the corrupt nurse and suspended several other staff for further investigation. Meanwhile, Mason and Nina found themselves walking home together more often. He told her he didn't just admire her strength, he respected her integrity. For the first time in years, Nina let herself feel something more than survival. Later that week, the hospital board offered her a promotion, head of trauma response training and security coordination, a leadership role built around everything she had become. Nina hesitated, then went to the memorial for her fallen unit. She hadn't visited in years. She placed her nurse's badge gently beneath their names, whispering a quiet thanks. When she returned, the weight she'd carried for so long felt lighter. For the first time in forever, Nina wasn't just healing others, she was healing herself. 6 months later, the hospital feels like a different world. The hallways are brighter, the staff more alert and confident. New security measures are in place, and the youth outreach program Nina helped launch now brings in at-risk teens as volunteers instead of patients in cuffs. Nina, no longer just a nurse on a night shift, now leads resilience workshops for both hospital staff and local youth, sessions that blend trauma-informed care, self-defense basics, and something harder to teach, quiet strength. She doesn't speak loudly, but when she does, people listen. Kayla has been accepted into a competitive nursing school, her application essay centered on the woman who stood up with a chair leg. She still volunteers whenever she can, shadowing Nina like a second shadow. Mason, too, stayed. He took a permanent position overseeing community safety and crisis response. He and Nina are something close to partners now, on duty and maybe off. Despite all the attention, Nina remains out of the spotlight. Reporters have tried, but she politely declines interviews. Her focus is on the next generation, not the headlines. One afternoon, a teenage girl with a bruised wrist comes into the ER, eyes darting nervously toward the exit. Outside, 2 gang members lurk near the doors. Nina notices. She doesn't panic. She walks over, crouches beside the girl, and says softly, "You don't have to go back out there. Not alone." She hands the girl a small card, just a number and a name. Nina Harper, Safe Reach Program. Behind her, mounted on her office wall, hangs the chair leg. Now polished, engraved, and framed in glass, it reads, "Stand your ground, even if you have to build it first." As the screen fades, Nina's voice is heard one last time. "I wasn't looking for a fight, but if you push someone who's already walked through hell, you just might be the one who breaks instead." Thanks for watching. For more videos, please subscribe. Our channel, American Latest Stories.